Hi there, my name is Connor Mount, and today for my presentation I am going to be talking about Judaism and circumcision. At the beginning I am going to be giving you a brief history of Judaism. To start, we will begin with the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They are the spiritual and physical ancestors of Judaism. Technically at the time they were not considered Jews because that word wasn't used until hundreds of years later. Abraham was born Abram in Babylonia in the year 1948 from creation. He questioned the faith of his father and came to believe that the entire universe was the work of one single creator. God called to Abraham and made a covenant with him, and the bond between God and Jews was established. Now, Jacob, grandson of Abraham, was at war with his brother Esau before they were even born. Eventually, Esau sold his religious birthright to Jacob for a bowl of lentil soup. Esau got mad. Jacob left. Jacob came back. The night before he saw his brother, he got in a fight with a random man. At dawn, the man revealed that he was an angel and blessed Jacob with the name Israel. Jewish people are referred to as the children of Israel. The next day, Esau welcomed Jacob. Joseph, the son of Jacob, had a bunch of older brothers that were very jealous of his gifts. His brothers sold Joseph into slavery and convinced Dad that Joseph was dead. But this was all part of God's plan. Joseph was brought to Egypt to have visions, and he paved the way for his family's settlement in Egypt. Now, as centuries passed, the Jews became slaves in Egypt and suffered greatly under the pharaohs. God led the Jews out of Egypt with Moses. Moses took them to a mountain, and God talked to them and created a contract between the Jewish people and God. Now, circumcision. In Leviticus 12:2, it reads, "On the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised." This is a spiritual, emotional, moral, and ethical perfection that requires human effort. It serves as a constant reminder of what the Jewish mission entails, and is a physical symbol of the relationship between God and the Jewish people. This is performed most of the time at synagogues, any time between sunrise and sunset. It is preferable to perform at an earlier hour because it emulates the effort of Abraham, who woke up early to do God's commandments. We have lots of key players in this ceremony. One of them is the kavaters. They are known as messengers. They bring the infants to the location, and a designated female and male serve as a messenger to deliver baby from the mother to where the circumcision is performed. They also deliver the baby back to the mother once the circumcision has been complete. The chair of Elijah is a tradition to designate an area for the baby to be placed. Elijah is considered the angel of the covenant, and many synagogues have a designated area. One attendee is given the honor of placing the baby on the chair. The mohel also asks for Elijah to protect the baby. Now the father has a representative called the sandek. It is honored with the lifting of the infant from the chair of Elijah and handing him to the father. The father then places the baby on the lap of the sandek, and the sandek holds the baby during the circumcision. This should be a very pious person. The circumcision itself is performed in a very orderly fashion. The father stands next to the mohel. The father hands the knife to the mohel. He states that he appoints the mohel as the messenger to perform the circumcision. The mohel will then recite a verse, and all those present will respond in another verse. Next in the ceremony comes the naming of the child. The second sandek, also known as the standing sandek, holds the infant as the mohel recites blessings and names the child. Blessings are recited over a cup of wine, and 2 times during the ceremony, the mohel will dip his pinky into the wine and places tiny drops in the baby's mouth. After the naming ceremony comes the festive meal. The community gathers to attend a festive meal in celebration of the circumcised infant. Everyone washes their hands and eats bread. Meat, fish, dairy, and always wine are served. People give charity, sing spiritual songs, and give good wishes. The father of the infant will also give a speech. Grace takes place after the meal with 4 primary blessings, one from Moses, one from Joshua, one from King David and King Solomon, and one from the 4 sages. Circumcision is a practice that dates back to circa 3000 BC. In ancient Egypt, it was used as a mark of slavery, and it was only practiced regularly by Jews and Muslims. In modernity, it started being practiced in the late 1800s. Doctors thought for some reason circumcision would cure a variety of problems. Some of the problems were masturbation and other developmental issues that they considered to be harmful to a developing person. In the early 1900s, the industrialization of childbirth led to economical motivations for people to be circumcised. By the end of the Cold War era, 90% of men in the United States were circumcised. By the 1970s, though, doctors were starting to research further into the topic. French obstetrician Frédéric Leboyer published a movie Birth Without Violence, and it discredited medical claims of the late 1800s and early 1900s. People now had a different perspective on how a child should enter the world. Many Jews continue to practice circumcision, although there is a definite opposition. In modernity, most American Jews are non-traditional, and so they are practicing circumcision for cultural and traditional reasons, not religious reasons. The opposition comes between two groups of Jews, some who are for circumcision and some who are against circumcision. Those who are for circumcision say that this practice should be kept around because it is a tradition, and it would be blasphemous to go against the Word of God. They are groups that are telling people that they need to be circumcised and that Jewish practicers should have to be circumcised. Those who are against the practice are against it because they say it is a health risk that is unnecessary. It decreases pleasure in sex, and it's no longer a representation of their religious faith in the modern age. Thank you so much for listening, and I really appreciate your time. I hope you learned some cool stuff. Have a great day.